Hello everybody, it's me, GhostCritic. Thank you for joining me for another week of comic book reviews. And as I record this, it's a very gloomy, wet and miserable day. So let's see if we can cheer ourselves up by talking about some comic books. If you're new to my channel, this is the first video you've watched. Beware, there are spoilers ahead. So as I show you the comic books, if you've not read it yet and you're about to, or you think you're going to in the near future, then stop the video or fast forward it, come back to it and find out what I thought about it later on. I don't want to spoil anything for you. Give this video a big thumbs up. If you're new and you want to watch more of these, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell and all that good stuff. Comment down below if you disagree with me. Let me know why. What am I missing out on if I've said something that has upset you so much? Let's kick off with my least liked book of the week, and it was a shame. Marvel are putting out these one-shot or what-if books, and honestly there hasn't been a great deal that has gone, oh, I want that, apart from this one. And then it kind of disappointed me. That is What If Peter Parker was or became the Punisher. And from the cover, it looks like it's obviously a very different type of Spider-Man. There's guns a-blazing in here. But quite frankly, it didn't hit the mark for me. I guess because this was very much retreading old ground, old history of Spider-Man, basically his early beginnings. Okay, this book written by Carl Potts, who has written The Punisher before, is basically a kind of thank you, a dedication to Steve Ditko, who recently died, and it does basically retread the whole of the kind of early Steve Ditko era of Spider-Man, from the moment he gets his powers, the Gwen Stacy coming off the bridge, the fighting against the Green Goblin, the Uncle Ben dying, and obviously Peter Parker letting the killer go free, but then having to, you know, round him up. And I guess that's the only part, really. Well, there's two parts that they kind of switch around a bit. Peter Parker does shoot and kill Uncle Ben's killer in the warehouse, that big warehouse scene that we've all read and seen. But apart from the fact that he kind of wears a black costume that has, you know, the skull of the Punisher on the front, nothing, he doesn't become like, you know, the over-the-top violence, killing people as the Punisher would. He finds ways of using, you know, his kind of science know-how to make these kind of non-lethal artillery. So he has like EMP bullets or explosive concussive rounds and stuff like that. And while, you know, the true Punisher, Frank Castle, would employ those kind of things, obviously the Punisher goes that bit further and is quite happy to kill and, you know, basically murder the scum of the streets. But he never really goes that far, and just kind of stays, you know, in the kind of Spider-Man mould of taking down the enemies but not actually killing them. The only other kind of little couple of twists that Carl Potts throws in here is, you know, the Gwen Stacy falling off the bridge, being pushed off the bridge. Instead of dying at that point, Peter Parker manages to save her, and that kind of gives him the impetus to put away his kind of superhero days, and you get that kind of now iconic scene of him walking down the alleyway with the Spidey costume thrown in the trash. And then I guess the final little twist right at the end is we get Frank Castle, because Spider-Man's not there anymore. All the gangs are fighting each other, killing each other, and you have, again, from the Punisher series this time, from their origins, the kind of infamous scene in the park where Frank Castle and his family are just idly, lovingly having a nice family picnic, but getting the crossfires of two gangs, and escaping, Frank Castle kind of falls into that alleyway where, oh, guess what was there? The Spider-Man costume with the Punisher, so it kind of leads on, oh, he's going to become the Punisher anyway. It was fun enough. I just didn't think there was a great deal different to be told, or you know, Carl Potts didn't go far enough with this, and it was just kind of disappointing in that respect. What ifs are there to kind of push that envelope, push characters that you are largely aware of, what they're like, what their characteristics are, and put them, you know, kind of out of left field, give them something new to do, something that you're not expecting. And I just kind of felt this was kind of Punisher, you know, diet, Punisher diet light, Punisher diet light max. And it was a missed opportunity for me. Next up, House of Whispers issue number 2. If you were lucky enough, you would have probably already caught the weekend's video of my review of the first issue. And I was kind of, again, a little bit disappointed with this issue, but probably because it's all a bit confusing right now, and maybe I'm being a little bit harsh on this, but Naylor Hopkinson and Dominique Stanton, who are creating this title, are basically throwing a lot of things at us on the offset, and I'm a bit like, what's going on? And as I said in the previous video in issue number 1, because this is a new element to the Sandman universe, I'm trying to get a grasp on what are the kind of new rules regarding these characters, this setup, this scenario. Because we saw at the end of last issue the House of Whispers dragged through this crack that we're reading about in the Dreaming title, and have landed in the Dreaming, and they're stranded there. And we get this idea that Azuli, or Azuli, I can't remember how to pronounce her name, but our goddess, she's not having a good time of it, being in the Dreaming, being cut off from her followers, her believers, is kind of starving her. And this is how she feeds off the beliefs of her followers. And so there's obviously this disconnect from being in the Dreaming and not in whatever kind of dream-like limbo state she used to live in, because it's not as though she is set in our world. She still lives in this kind of nether-like region, a kind of a supernatural environment. So for that, to me, that kind of cut off, that disconnect from her believers, is difficult for me to grasp, because I guess, and again, I'm having difficulty kind of the layers of the kind of gods and deities, because yes, we have the immortals, and this is dreams land, and you know, people are drawn into the Dreaming, so there's a connection there to our world. I don't necessarily think Dream needs to have people believing dreams, they just have to dream, and that makes him, and again, there's no connection there to his power level set. So we kind of basically have the immortals of Dream and all his brothers and sisters, and then I guess you have these gods and deities that depend on their followers' belief in them to help them survive, to keep them going. In this particular issue, we have her trying to get back through the rift on her kind of barge ship home, this House of Whispers, but obviously it doesn't go too well, and she's back stuck in the dreaming. So it's going to be interesting to see how Hopkinson manages to kind of circumnavigate this idea that, you know, while she is there in the dreaming, this goddess is going to get weaker and weaker, if the rules I am reading are correct. And that, I guess, kind of goes for our Uncle Monday character as well, who is also trapped in the dreaming as well. I like that it is kind of connecting into the kind of this big overall, I guess, story arc that's happening in the dreaming, about this rift that's broken in the skies of the dreaming. Because in this issue she meets up with Cain and Abel, which is, it's all fair and well, they have their own houses, we have another neighbour, so to speak. But it's nice to see Cain and Abel be able to not just bounce off each other now, but have this new kind of, I guess, owner of a house. And I kind of guess Cain's got a little bit of a thing for her. But again, it's just the rules of this world that I need to be a little bit more explained, so I can get a better grasp of what's going on. And then they're throwing in all these other kind of seemingly kind of deities into the mix, and what is their purpose? Why is everyone so worried that, you know, at first there's just one of them kind of hanging out. Let me see if I can get a picture of it. Yeah, here, this kind of pale gothic-like character hanging out in the sky, and then we have two of them hanging out in the sky, and this is apparently Big Trouble. Again, not quite sure why. The artwork, when I first looked at it, it looked a bit different from the original as it got further and further on. It started to get a bit more, I guess, a little bit more cartoony comic book style than we had in the original issue. Don't know if that's really what they're going for, or it's just a fluke, I don't know. But I didn't kind of get that feel from the last issue. But we shall continue, we shall see how we get on with the House of Whispers. I enjoyed it. Issue number 56 of The Flash by Joshua Williamson, and I'm really enjoying this. And, you know, we just talked about what are the rules of the kind of House of Whispers scenario title. I like the way that Williamson is giving us more information about these forces and what they do and what they entail, and there does seem to be a set of rules that I can kind of understand and get. And I wasn't so sure what this whole Sage Force was. It sounded very weird and not really a force. You know, we have the Strength Force, you know exactly what that is. The Sage Force, what does that really mean? And we introduced one of the Flash's Rogues Gallery, Heatwave, who it appeared in the last issue had basically destroyed all of Iron Heights and killed everyone within them apart from the Flash and this female detective. And it was like, what the hell is going on? The Flash in the last issue kind of had, you know, something that's not right here. The way the kind of, you know, these people have all died or seemingly died, it's not right. And he's kind of using his kind of CSI detective skills around this, and we find as the story moves on that we're actually in kind of Heatwave's mind. This is all going on in the mind, so it's not actually happened, and that, you know, everyone that looked as if they died in this big kind of heat explosion probably haven't. And it's this idea, the Sage Force. I say I'm kind of grasping the rules, but it seems to be something along the lines of kind of like an empathic force, as we deal with Heatwave's childhood and why the way he is, why he's so attracted to fire and heat and flames. And as with kind of, I guess, as we're seeing with all these forces, there is this element of this, some sort of kind of a lightning rod, a single point where we have to either overcome the tragedy that is that has sparked this power, or use it to control what is going on, because I don't really think that Heatwave is necessarily in control of what is going on. He doesn't want this to be going on. He knows there's that kind of notion that he knows he's a bad man. He knows he can't help himself. And it doesn't matter how much the Flash, Barry, anyone around him try to, you know, lead him down the, you know, the straight and narrow. However, it's always going to lead back to his kind of villainous path that he thinks he's, you know, steadily on. Because the Flash and this detective are now within the mind, their actual bodies are in a kind of like coma state, and our Commander Cold, sorry, has kind of taken them to his apartment, looking after them, keeping them safe, but he believes that to get kind of Heatwave to stop getting stronger and stronger, and it appears that he's going to kind of burn the whole of Central City if he's not kind of put down. That will cause the Flash and this detective to die as well. There's a few nice little touches that I liked in here. The conversation that the Flash and this detective have with each other. Obviously she doesn't know that it's Barry under the cowl, the mask, but she kind of chastises him for not going on this force quest that was mentioned a few issues ago. You know, it's that kind of detective work that she, you know, there are procedures. You know, you don't know anything about these forces, go and find out about them. You have been given this quest to do. It's like detective procedural work. You get a lead, you go for it. But we have Flash still in this, despite everything that's happened, despite the fact every time he says he's going to do better, he never seems to. He always becomes this arrogant, kind of not even self-centered, but he has this kind of narrow, blinkered view of what needs to be done, under the guise of I'm protecting the people I love and the city that I love. But again, he kind of goes about it all the wrong way, and it's kind of getting to a point with this that I'm like, oh come on, we get this now. Let's move this character's progression on to where, you know, he's not being an idiot. He's not making the same mistakes again and again and again, because it does get a little bit of boring read by then. It's just like, you know he's going to go down this stupid path, you know he's going to mess things up, make it worse, and then kind of make it better, and apparently have this kind of epiphany that will last an issue, and then he'll go back to exactly the same as where he was before. But I do like this book. It's very exciting, it's very dynamic. I've loved the artwork. Scott Collins still doing some great work on here. I'm glad I kept with the Flash. This is the only standard DC book, apart from the Adventures of Super Sons, that I'm getting now at DC, and I say I'm glad I stuck with it. My penultimate book of the week of enjoyment levels is the Avengers issue number 9 from Jason Aaron, and it might seem a bit strange because of my thoughts about this book, why it is so high, because yes, I am enjoying this series from Jason Aaron, this revamped new volume of Earth's Mightiest Heroes, but it took a very dark turn in this issue. We saw Namor, our cover star here, at the end of last issue, and he ain't happy, and he's got reason to not be happy. This is true. But again, it's a little bit like The Flash that we just talked about. I feel like we're retreading the same kind of story tropes that we've seen time and time again with these characters. Namor has always kind of he's never really been kind of like middling ground. He's either been the villain of the piece or he's been a hero of the piece. And he's most decidedly the villain of the piece. However, it's kind of that villainous character, much like Magneto is, where his, I don't want to say his heart's in the right place. Well, I guess it is. His ideas and why he's wanting revenge, or he wants retribution or justice for what has happened, he's kind of going about it in the wrong way. And I have to say, I was incredibly surprised at the beginning, the kind of opening pages of this, as we have Tiger Shark and a Stingray having at it in an underwater fight for no real reason that I can kind of fathom, apart from to bring Namor and ask them both, will they be party to I guess an army he's creating for purposes yet really unknown, though obviously to kind of take over as Earth land dwellers. But it's the fact that Stingray, you know, he's the hero of the piece here, really is not having any of it. He's like, no, Namor, this isn't the way to go. And basically Namor just sets the sharks and such like onto Stingray, and you can quite clearly see Stingray is not going to get out of that, and he's dead. Such a dark way to start the series. Tiger Shark, sorry. Having seen this, I mean, he has no choice really. He's going to accept Namor's request and join this band, this army he's creating. And so again, it's up to the Avengers, suited out in their underwater stuff, to go and take down Namor. And it's basically just kind of one long drawn out fight, trying to persuade Namor, you know, you need to stop this. We will, you know, get the killers of your people, bring them to justice. And they do kind of stop Namor speaking to Captain America, kind of calms down after the huge big fight with all sorts of manner of aquatic creatures being used by Namor to take down the Avengers. But I guess this isn't really the end, despite the fact that they take the Roxxon employees away and put them in prison, because Namor still finds a way to kill them, drowning them in their cell as the water out of their toilet that's in their cell comes gushing up, and basically leaving them nowhere to breathe, and they die. And that's where we get the big kind of cliffhanger shot of Namor and all his kind of villainous band, who are clearly going to be up to no good in the coming issues. Again, it was a very exciting issue of Avengers, loving where Aaron is taking this, but as I said at the top of this particular part, the whole Namor characterization, it's been done before, but I'm sure Jason Aaron has some twists and turns for us as we go along, and I am ready for that ride. So it's time for my pick of the week, and the eagle-eyed among you, if you've watched Wednesday's New Comic Book Day video, will already have worked out what it is. It is, of course, the Amazing Spider-Man from Nick Spencer and Humberto Ramos, issue number 7, and I might need your help about the ending of this and a certain character, because I'm not quite sure who he is, though I'm very excited to see what is coming. We have this kind of farcical scenario of Peter Parker being brought to this infamous bar with no name where all the villains hang out, and they're having a Spider-Man trivia night. Boomerang has brought Peter Parker in, and unfortunately, Boomerang has some enemies in high places, namely the Kingpin, who has basically put a bounty out on his head, dead or alive, and so what is generally known as a neutral zone, this bar, turns into a big war zone fight fest, and it's up to Boomerang and Peter Parker trying hard not to use his spider powers and give himself away to get out of this bar, at least in one piece. What I really liked about this, apart from the ridiculous nature of the fight scene that goes on in this bar and how much fun and exciting it is, it's that kind of standard, and we harken back to the Flash with Heatwave and him knowing that he is always going to be a bad guy, that is his path. In this scenario, Boomerang does really sound like he wants to turn over a new leaf, to the point where he saves kind of Peter's life in a way, obviously not knowing that Peter Parker is Spider-Man and probably would have got out of it anyway, but Boomerang throws himself in front of Peter as one of our villains fires at Peter and kind of saves his life, but injures himself. And they have this conversation where Peter is still unsure about Boomerang, he's still untrusting of him, but Boomerang seriously sounds like he wants to change. He doesn't want to be this villainous character that he's always been known as, and I like that kind of twist to this character. It's probably all fake, it's probably all lies, but it does back up with the kind of what's been going on in Boomerang's life at all, and it kind of links to the Superior Foes of Spider-Man series, where Boomerang had all the kind of the villains, those kind of C-lister level villains of Spider-Man, and the ridiculous kind of farcical nature of that particular volume. If you haven't read it, I think I've read most of it, and it is a great run and you should really check it out. But what has happened is he's got the Tinkerer to basically make robotic versions of all the Superior Foes that Boomerang originally collected, because they don't want anything to do with him now. He basically turned on them all anyway in that volume of the Superior Foes. So it's kind of a bittersweet tragedy for the character of Boomerang, that he doesn't want to be alone. He desperately wants to be a part of something, to the point where he will get the Tinkerer to make robot versions that always kind of break down, and he ends up realising he is on his own. And it's not even as though he wants these robots to help him fight crime. He just wants someone to hang out with, and that kind of pulls on the heartstrings. It's so well kind of written by Nick Spencer that I just can't help but really love this book. Now we get to the ending, and this is where I'm kind of going to need all you lot's help out there, because as much as I'm really digging this character, I have no idea who he is. Please don't tell me his name's like Centipede Man. But he certainly has something over the Kingpin. I'm guessing this is kind of from under the volume of Spider-Man, which I'm unaware of, because I've not read it, this Amazing Spider-Man, for a long time until this volume. So help me out with that. But it's very creepy. He's clearly is after Spider-Man for a reason that, you know, it's not all given out just yet, which is a good thing, but he certainly has plans for Spider-Man in the future. Very much looking forward to that storyline that Nick Spencer is prepping as we speak. So my pick of the week, Amazing Spider-Man. Do you agree with me, or have you something else that you loved more than all the rest of the books on your pile? Then please let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you all for watching and making it to here. I hope you're still here and I'm not just talking to myself. Thank you for watching. I will see you this coming Wednesday with some new comic books for New Comic Book Day. Give this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell. Do lots of comments down below and I'll reply as soon as I can. Again, thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.